Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm going to start with prayers, as always, to ground more and attune together. And then we'll go deeper into the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yamunatirai Vanachari Yamunatirai Vanachari Yamunatirai Vanachari. Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Raj, the holder of the great hill named Govardhan, the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the delighter of the inhabitants of Vraja, and he wanders in the forests along the banks of the river Yamuna. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine. This is a prayer by Surdas that I shared in the past that really relates to this prayer to the spiritual master. I offer my obeisances to my spiritual master who gave me beautiful Kantimala, effulgent tilak, the beautiful form of a devotee, and who offered me the shelter. In one of his hands, he is holding my hand, and with the other hand, he is holding the lamp of knowledge, which helps me to cross over the dark ocean of the material world. Surdas says my guru deserves the greatest respect because only he can rescue one in the blinking of an eye. I bow to him or her again and again and again. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And now, before I start reading, I want to ask for all the blessings of the gathered Vaishnavas. The purpose of speaking Bhagavatam is to become absorbed in the pastimes of the Lord and to remember Him and to soften our hearts and to also develop the faith in His unlimited mercy and friendship towards everyone from the Lord's side. And so I want to pray that our ears stay open and we hear deeply to the heart so we can actually become touched by Krishna. So with that, I want to go into the verses. We are in Canto 10, Chapter 50, and we are going through verses 35 to 40. Okay. So, verse 35. Mukunda pyaksata balo nistirnari balarnavaha vikiryamana kupshuma tridashar anumoditaha maturar upasangamya Vitrarmuditam Mabhihi Upagimana Vijaya Shutamagatavandipi. Translation. Lord Mukunda had crossed the ocean of his enemy's armies with his own military force completely intact. He received congratulations from the denizens of heaven, who showered him with flowers. The people of Mathura, relieved of their feverish anxiety and filled with joy, came out to meet him as professional bards, heralds, and panegyrists sang in praise of his victory. Shankadundubhayone durperituranyane kashat Dinavenumridangani puram pravishati prabho Siktamargam Christajanam Patakabir Abhyalankritam Nirgustam Brahma Ghoshena Kautukabata Toranam. As the Lord entered his city, conch shells and kettle drums sounded, and many drums, horns, veenas, flutes, and mridangas played in concert. The boulevards were sprinkled with water, there were banners everywhere, and the gateways were decorated for the celebration. The citizens were elated, and the city resounded with the chanting of Vedic hymns. Nichiyamanu nari bir malyadadyakshantan kurat Nirksyamanakshasneham pritukta kalitalochana. As the women of the city affectionately looked at the Lord, their eyes wide open with love, they scattered flower garlands, yogurt, parched rice, and newly grown sprouts upon him. Purport. All this is taking place as Lord Krishna enters the city of Mathura. And our last verse for today. Ayodhanagatam vitam anantam virabhushanam yadurajaya tatsarvam akhritam pradishat prabhu. And here we'll go by synonyms, translation and purport by the exalted disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Ayodhanagatam, fallen on the battlefield. Vitam, the valuables. Anantam, countless. Vira, of the heroes. Pushanam, the ornaments. Yadurajaya, to the king of the Yadus, Ugrasena. Tat, that. Sarvam, all. Ahritam, which was brought. Pradishat, presented. Prabhu, the Lord. Translation. Lord Krishna then presented to the Yadu king all the wealth that had fallen on the battlefield, namely the countless ornaments of the dead warriors. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti adds that jeweled ornaments had also been collected from the horses and other animals. What might be added here, for the sake of the squeamish, is that Jarasandha came to Mathura with the clear intention of slaughtering every last man in the city, including Krishna and Balaram. It is out of the causeless mercy of the Lord that he gives the conditioned souls a taste of their own medicine and thus helps them become more sensitive to the laws of nature and the existence of a supreme Godhead. Ultimately, Krishna awarded Jarasandha and others killed on the battlefield spiritual liberation. The Lord is strict, but he is not malicious. In fact, he is an ocean of mercy. These are the verses. First, I want to bring the chapter title, which is the title of the chapter 50 is Krishna constructs the city of Dwarka. And that in itself, as this whole pastime, shows the Lord as the supreme shelter, to the point that there are no bounds that confine him in providing shelter for every single living entity, including constructing a completely new transcendental city within the waters so that the citizen cannot be disturbed anymore and can really feel this complete safety. And I find this to be already extremely beautiful because it's just like it's such an almost like an extreme of imagining safety and shelter. Like it seems to be not accessible in the normal way of operating. So then he creates the whole city of Dwarka within the waters, and it's mystically just arranged, which is incredible. Um, and also I feel very grateful because I personally, as most of you know, since we are all actually close community, know that my primary service in a temple is to make garlands, and it's very much aligned with flowers and everything flower related. And I also have personal ties with New Dwarka community in Los Angeles, and so to even be given those verses to speak on is just such a sweetness to connect with. And in the same way, actually, Srila Prabhupada has created the Los Angeles temple or the New Dwarka Dham as headquarters for the Americas of ISKCON movement. And that also shows to me his determination for bringing Krishna consciousness to the West in general. And in itself, it's truly the Dwarka, that sense of shelter and a bubble of mercy, where we actually can come together, or where devotees can come together and cultivate love towards Krishna. As I mentioned earlier, pastimes of the Lord are meant to steer our emotions. And I find here in these verses that they also call for a wonder and amazement as we are really receiving the vision of this beautiful fanfare of welcoming the Lord with the flowers, the kettle drums, the musicians, the poets, essentially all expressions of love in the highest, which is creative ways. And it's also a glimpse into the culture of highly spiritually elevated persons. And we also have a chance to embody similar culture to Chaitanya's movement, Lord Chaitanya's movement. As the devotees there are singing praises to the Lord, they're reciting Vedic hymns.
Ananda Manjari, can we throw yogurt at each other?
I'm sure that there may be festivals in which this is actually allowed. I know you can throw flowers at devotees at different venues. So
I want to throw yogurt at Henry Prabhu.
I would highly recommend you throwing yogurt from Abhishek afterwards. So if you need permission, you have mine. So I'll continue, although this is a very sweet interjection. We are able to actually invite sacred sound vibration into all parts of our lives, actually. And so just like here, there's that celebration of welcoming the Lord, we can invite that and also invite the sacred sound vibration, which we also have in our samskaras, in mourning and grief, when we are confused and seeking clarity or having clarity, having celebration. All of these are, there's no moment in which we actually cannot invite Krishna into it. And so here, the welcoming the Lord is giving the best of the best, what we have for his pleasure, or at least what devotees have. And there are beautiful symbols here too. There's the symbols of life, like sprouts, the sense of something fresh and new. And then there's the opulence, which is the yogurt, which Ananda Bihari Prabhu mentioned. Because yogurt is such a rich product, actually. And then there is description of women, beautiful women opening their eyes wide, and that to me really brought that sense of preparation to receive the Lord. receive and wanting to receive more of him, or just see more of him, and to connect with Krishna as close as possible. And recently I heard something that really touched me, and it fits here, and that was from Garuda Prabhu, which was, he said how one cannot be close enough to the beloved, that if we love someone, we always want to be closer to them. And I feel like this is really brought out here as well, that we cannot really see enough of Krishna, and even if we do, we want to meditate longer and deeper on what we are seeing. And this is how we can also approach the deities, to really marvel at how they are dressed, how they're looking a specific day for us actually to be purified by looking at them. I was hearing this lecture by Radhanath Swami from 1989, and he was speaking about living in New Vrindavan community, and mentioned how the living there, those times especially, were so austere that essentially the greatest sense gratification was in the temple, and so to speak, sense gratification, but to the point that devotees would like know exactly the type of dress that the deities are wearing, and the names of those dresses, because they were named after like when they were offered and the seasons in which they were offered. And devotees would literally just speak to each other, describing the like details of the details of darshan, because this was essentially what they were able to focus on, having essentially no other engagement with the senses outside of this really deep and also very engaging and austere services. And I find it to be beautiful because we can really tap into this, to try to imprint into our memories what we are seeing, and to even pray like, may my eyes open wider, may I actually be able to take in, and may my heart really be filled with those images, and naturally kind of push out the conditioned images we may be having. And the next verses describe the opulences even on the battlefield, how the animals were ornamented, how the weapons were ornamented, how essentially everything was just very opulent. And there Krishna is acting in his Mathura mood. Naturally, he is there, so he takes that mood, which he strongly showcases Balaram as his older brother, whom he needs support from in a more formal way. And even now, coming before the Yadu king, he offers all the opulences after the battlefield is essentially, scattered with dead bodies and remnants of those bodies, which is the ornaments, the gold and the jewels. And I was particularly interested in the purport. There was, the Lord gives the conditioned souls a taste of their own medicine, which reminded me very strongly about the reciprocation, that Krishna reciprocates with our intentions, and the way in which we approach him. And here is this very strong reminder of the laws of nature, that actually we are cultivating the loops in which we are falling into, that we are putting ourselves in situations that bring upon us reactions that we have to inevitably face because we continue to accrue karma through all the actions separated from Krishna. And so that's an extremely strong reminder. And again, our solution, and actually the solution that Srila Prabhupada gave us very mercifully, which is that through service we are not accruing karma, although it's not so important. What's important is to really connect with the Lord and please him. But still, he liberates personally each one of the people or personalities that he has killed. And then another sentence I wanted to speak more on: the Lord is strict, but he is not malicious. In fact, he is an ocean of mercy. And that brought me into the notion that here we are asked to cultivate faith. And faith is a place beyond logic. It is really, truly the investment of the heart. And we can cultivate that. And so especially in these verses, and I actually find it also sweet that the devotees and disciples of Srila Prabhupada are already predicting a possible place of shock or confusion. Hence, there is a commentary focus on that. But there is that strong statement of bringing our potential lack of awareness, that actually all that Krishna does comes from his beautiful and perfect arrangement for the best of the best of the best for each living entity. And we are again reminded that he is truly the ocean of mercy, and we just need to fit it into our own perception of how we are understanding what he is doing. And who else is a ocean of mercy? That is a spiritual master. Even if they may be strict at times or act in ways that may be interpreted in so many different ways, it all comes from their mercy, especially because their hearts are completely linked with the heart of Krishna. And so that's how they're bringing that beautiful service of guiding people back home, back to Godhead. And so that brought me to a question which I often ask when something happens in my life that confuses me or bewilders me, or I'm reading a particular pastimes and I'm just like not really able to figure them out. I often ask, how is this a expression of kindness from Krishna? Or in which ways can this be an expression of mercy? And even though it's more of an imaginative exercise, it still opens the heart for remembering that Krishna is all kind and he is, again, the ocean of mercy. And also, that's a reminder that he arranges situations for us that bring us into strengthening our character potentially, or our opportunities in which we can actually truly strengthen our character and tap into remembering him and tap into that shelter that we can actually always call upon. And I find this portion of this pastime especially as having twofold ways or two moods together. And so one is like a potential of entering it with doubts, especially hearing about Krishna killing all personalities. And at the same time, there are those who are in the pastime which have a purified vision, and they're actually rejoicing seeing Krishna slay all the entire armies, and also prove his strength this way, and prove that he is truly the supreme person. And so in the same way, it really reminds me how we can trust the vision of the Vaishnavas, or even if we are, and it is an act of humility and a necessary one to acknowledge that our vision is flawed, or yet to be purified, we can call upon the vision of those who already are perfected or purified in their vision. And this way we can also tap into cultivating the faith, and investing the heart in the relationship with those Vaishnavas, which is ideally, again, our teachers. And the teacher does not mean, only a Diksha or Shiksha Guru. It can be so many different people in our lives, but to really invest in seeking guidance and trusting the vision of those who are already deeply connected with the Lord. And actually, even recently, I remember situations with my own mentors and them showing me how Guru and Krishna are actually protecting me where I was going through a very hard time. And that is something that I would not be able to cultivate internally within myself, which is a reason for gratitude for being guided so beautifully. These are all the points I wanted to bring today. Mainly really focusing on the faith and vision that we can cultivate through this spiritual practice. And with that, I would like to open it to the possibility of being showered with flowers, of comments, corrections, questions, reflections, and anything you would like to bring, as you're also in this pastime right now through hearing. So, thank you. Damodar Priya here.
Hare Krishna, my dear Ananda, Manjari, Devi, Dasi Prabhu, my dear sister. I'm going to make this quick because I want Jamuna Jaya Prabhu to have a chance to share because I know she has class at 8. But what you were sharing, I wrote it in the chat for those who haven't already heard me say it like 1,000 times. But what you were sharing made me think of Rukmini Walker Prabhu's. Often she says, gratitude makes space for Krishna's grace.
Yes.
So that when we can be in that state of gratitude, then we're making space to be able to, like, that grace is already there, but sometimes even just to see it and to acknowledge it. So what you just shared about your mentors, being able to kind of make that space for you so that that you can see Krishna's grace is so beautiful. And I really, really appreciate you sharing that. And thank you as always for your heartfelt and heart-opening classes that are very, very, very sweet, just like you are. Love you.
Thank you so much. I'm tickled internally. So sweet to hear from you. Yeah, that just brings me again to the importance of community and understanding that like we are not self-made. We actually continuously need reminders. Recently I heard this beautiful practice. It exists in one of the African tribes, which I cannot name, which I actually would like to, remember the name of. But the practice is that when one of the community members seems to forget their ways or acts, out of integrity within their own practices or within their own core values, the community actually circles them and sings their name back to them. And that way of like singing the name of this person is a way of reminding them who they truly are and to actually see them deeply at their core, like as the spirit soul, as the person who got, who follows and lives from the place of integrity. And so I was really thinking about that, and I feel like this is exactly one of those moments where we need people that sing our name back to us, or we need devotees that extend their vision and allow us to tap into that space of gratitude when our hearts may be a little bit closed. So thank you so much for bringing this. Jamuna Jaya, please.
Hare Krishna, Ananda Manjari. It is having you, Ananda Manjari is right. I don't know why you're here, but surely you have come for our mercy. And just every time you speak, it's like hearing angels sing. So thank you so much for that, my love. I just really love the point. What you just said was really beautiful as well. But during the class, we always talk about finding the lessons in the challenging positions. But you said it differently, and that really clicked for me. Not just finding the lessons, but finding Krishna's kindness in the challenging position. And that was just such a great way to see it. Where can I find Krishna's kindness even in those challenging positions? And that was just such a beautiful teasing out of that. So we so really appreciated that so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for this point. Yes, it's finding the lessons in a way that actually bring us closer to Krishna, in a way that we are really allowing ourselves to not cultivate resentment. Like I know it's like, for my own even life, it's like at times when I don't understand what's happening, I may even start cultivating resentment. And can I actually flip that internally and try to connect with the gratitude towards the situation to the point that I'm actually really deeply feeling like I'm really grateful for going through this right now, even when it's so hard. And I know that the lessons are there, but also it's here, to bring me to Krishna. And there are so many stories of devotees, like calamities really truly coming into their lives and them becoming the greatest gifts they ever received, even though, externally or in the material perception, it can be quite hard to grasp, but even that, bringing them closer to their own core and connection with the Lord, becomes the greatest blessing. And so it is that practice of not only accepting or tolerating, but also truly receiving into the open heart. So thank you for that. I don't see any more raised hands, and I wonder if there's no more comments or Adi Purusha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
Wonderful, wonderful class. Very sweet. What comes across is not only the subject matter, but as everyone commented, upon you personally. And the class, the subject matter is about the reception Krishna received when he returned victorious after the battle. And we can only extrapolate in our experience on traveling Sankirtan. We had occasion to enter many sports arena stadiums with 50, 60, 80,000 people. And when you go up to the Michigan state, they have this stadium that's built on practically below the surface. And there's 100,000 people in the stadium. And then when there's some kind of activity on the playing field where they make some progress, then 100,000 people roaring. I mean, it's just, I'm trying to extrapolate like what it's like for the city of Dwarka receiving Krishna. 100,000 people, 80,000 people, standing up, screaming, yelling, cheering. It's amazing. Of course, they're just cheering for some, sporting event, but imagine cheering with that much joy and enthusiasm for Krishna's victory over those who are attacking. So that's one thing. I just try to really picture that and relish that, especially since they're showing so much love for Krishna and gratitude. And then there's the description of Krishna building, like you were describing, the Dwarka, the city, as a shelter, as a residence, as a place for protecting and taking care of the devotees. And our experience in the Krishna consciousness movement is that people are welcomed. That by Srila Prabhupada's grace, the devotees are always ready to include others, and the door is open. We're glad to see them coming, and I felt that myself coming to Krishna consciousness, and I was surprised by it. I traveled around a little bit and went to different communities, and there was some degree of welcome and reception, but not like coming into the association of devotees, because our hearts are overflowing with what Krishna has given, and we want to share it. We invite anyone interested to come out and see what's happening with Krishna's prasad distribution for the homeless. And believe me, it's a great tapasya to put this together. We're spending Lakshmi and blood, sweat, and tears to prepare and then give out Krishna's mercy. And the people that receive it, I should record the words that they have, the thank you, the expressions of appreciation that they give. We're only there to give to them, but it's so satisfying to see how Krishna is, his love is coming out, and people perceive that. Anyway, those are just some reflections. Your class was perfect and complete, but the welcome of Krishna when he came back victorious, and then the way Krishna prepared a place to care for the devotees is so sweet. How wonderful is Krishna?
Thank you so much for these points.
Prabhupada.
Well, glories, especially just being able to link what we are reading and receiving from Bhagavatam with our immediate experience. Perhaps we don't go to stadiums every day, but even like living in New York City, it's like I sometimes, if I don't bike, I take a subway and I go to Union Square, and to even imagine like, oh, what if this crowd and all this rush was actually to greet Krishna? Or like, can we actually imagine these things truly happening and how that looks in a spiritual world? And that is just such a beautiful vision to cultivate. And then that point of really making um, our endeavors a sense and experience of home, whether it's actually shelter or it's even, you know, an offering of a warm meal, which is prasadam, is an experience of home. And actually really seeing that if we don't create that sense of home for the devotees and for people to come, they will inevitably have really nowhere to go. So it's just either falling into the arms of devotees or falling into the arms of illusion, which is going to perpetuate suffering. So these are such incredible points. Thank you so much for bringing them. I saw hand of Bhima Prabhu and Gautam Ghosh Prabhu, and please just choose whoever would like to speak first.
Let Gautam Ghosh speak.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Okay. Hare Krishna. Very wonderful class. So I have a questions.
Yes.
Why do Vaishnava take vegetarian food?
Can you repeat your question?
Yes.
Why Vaishnava what?
Vaishnava take vegetarian food.
Oh, why do Vaishnavas take vegetarian food? Yes. Well, one of the big important principles is cultivating compassion and non-violence. And actually the very high expression of the practice is to truly rejoice in the happiness of others and feel the suffering when others are suffering. And we can extend that if we are seeing actually that Krishna is the father of every single living entity, and every single living entity means any living entity, including animals and even plants. Then in that way, recognizing that Krishna is the origin of everything, ultimately that means that we are all siblings. And that means that naturally we just don't want to create and cause any harm. And also knowing that it's unnecessary. Like we as the principle, we want to avoid any unnecessary harm too. And because we can sustain the body completely of ingredients that are not harmful as much as possible, and still everything has karma, so whatever we prepare, we still offer it to Krishna, so it actually is completely purified and purifies us internally. So this is the reason why, essentially tapping into that deep sense of compassion and non-violence, and seeing that we are actually to protect life and to protect our family in all shapes and forms, instead of causing further suffering, which is again unnecessary. Does that answer your question? Gautam Ghosh.
He looks very satisfied by the answer.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
And Ananda Manjari, do we have a verse to fortify Gautam Ghosh Prabhu's intelligence with the Shastra that explains why we are not taking meat as Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis? Krishna, are you here?
Do you have a verse in mind?
Would it be Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam? Would it be that one?
I thought of that verse. Yeah, Damodar Priya, say the whole thing. Do you know the whole thing? I'm putting you on the spot.
Jai.
Yeah,
If you
I
offer
pulled.
me with loving devotion of fruit, of flower, of water, I will accept it.
Jai.
I needed Paul's help.
Oh, I didn't know who was speaking. How lovely. Thank you so much.
And that's from where? That's from what scripture? What Shastra?
Is it 2:14?
That's Bhagavad Gita.
I'm right now Googling it, so I'm sure.
It's Bhagavad Gita. That's
That's
the
Bhagavad
Thank you,
Gita.
Damodar, Priya, and Paul.
926. Paul
Nine.
said.
26, Krishna says, you offer me with love and devotion fruit, leaf, flower, or water. He doesn't say chicken nuggets or anything. So we're trying to please Krishna and offer him what he accepts.
Well, the important thing is that Krishna gives us intelligence, and we can use that intelligence. In fact, we should use that intelligence. And so, we need to tap into the principles, and he doesn't need to spell out exactly. I think it's also, we can just know that this is also what's pleasing to him. But even in the scriptures, it is described what is offered to Krishna. Essentially, we can know like what's in his lunchbox, and it's never
Yeah, that's
anything
right.
with products from cows, but outside of that.
Yeah,
So,
we are vegetarian because that's what is in Krishna's lunchbox. That's the answer. That's it.
yes.
Bhima Prabhu? Lilia. Bhima is a gentleman. He's fine. Lilia, go ahead.
I definitely want to hear from you.
So, if Krishna's vegetarian, why does the Bible say we can eat meat?
That's a good question. Actually, in the Bible, there are very specific, and this is also in the Vedic paradigm as well, that the eating of meat still comes with a very specific way of sacrificing. And so there's the pastime of slaughtering a what is the name of the animal? It's not a goat, it's the lamb, like slaughtering the lamb and marking the doorways with the blood of the lamb as a way of actually marking a connection.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
I know, I'm sorry, this is in a scripture, but what is the point is that any way of killing that happens and any way of eating meat is still connected to following very specific principles and austerities related and sacrifice related to that. And so even in cultures or in the Abrahamic traditions in which there's eating of meat, there is actually still the following of the higher principle or following of the teachers in which it's done in a very specific way.
And in the Shastra, it's always restricting.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, then regulate it and do it it's not indulgent, it's restricting, narrowing it down. That's the context of the scripture. It's always restricting those things.
Yeah.
Prabhu? Unmute.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Manjari, what a wonderful class. Sweet relation of Krishna.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah. It's darshan time. Let's stay for the afterglow.
Yes.
You're so patient, Bhima. The ocean of patience. Ananda, Manjari, wonderful class. Thank you.
I would gladly stay a few minutes afterwards.
Thank you. Krishna, Prabhu, are you staying for the afterglow?
You can shower Radha Muridhar with flowers. Just reminding you.
Hare Krishna.
Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Pala Vigrahasya Govinda Ani Purusham Namahami Govinda Ani Purusham Namahami Govinda Hari Purusham Namaha.
Shri Shri Radha Muralidhar ki jai. Shri Guru Chandra ki jai. Ananda Manjari, floor is yours.
Jai.
This is the afterglow.
It's Bhima Prabhu's turn. I would like to
Bhima, the star of the afterglow. Bhima Prabhu.
Thank you for your patience.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for thank you for even allowing me to speak. I just wanted to address the idea of Krishna entering Dwarka,
Yes.
and that we, as devotees, when we are given darshan of Krishna and Radharani on the altar, which is always in that sort of Dwarka ras, which is this awe and reverence, you know, and we always have to remember that Prabhupada has arranged our movement in such a way that we are always given direct access to these rasas, that we are always given direct access, as Adi said, things were so austere at New Vrindavan. I was there.
Yeah.
And that you learned, this is one of the reasons why, and we should always remember this, that we do not engage in sense gratification, outward worldly indulgences, because Krishna wants us to indulge in his world. And they don't mix. As soon as you turn yourself to the worries and the fears and the anxieties and the desires, the kama for this world, you can't be looking at Krishna's world. You can't even begin on the awe and reverence level. And we also have to understand that when we take this consistent and constant shelter of Krishna, that Krishna, even while we sleep, will take us to Dwarka. We'll build Dwarka, and we will wake. We will find ourselves awake in Vaikuntha, and that it is Krishna's doing, and that all we have to do is to surrender. And we should always hanker when we are in the association of devotees, when we are listening to Bhagavatam class. I read from a purport here from the fourth chapter of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada's purport. He says, the conclusion is that simply by hearing the Vedic literature Srimad Bhagavatam, one can have direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and thereby one can attain the highest perfection of life by transcending worldly miseries, illusion, and fearfulness. These are practical tests for one who is actually given a submissive hearing to the readings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so obviously it is not only very palatable, but it is very sweet that we get to hear you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhujini, because when you do, my heart softens to do something that is not natural, and I am able to very much appreciate Prabhupada's purport in this matter. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for this, and even reminding us of the high standards that is actually accessible to us, to really fall into like Krishna's world and to hunger in our own senses for him and really transcend our conditionings in that way. I recently heard from Indradyumna Swami. He was first of all bringing again what Prabhupada said at New Dwarka in Los Angeles. He was installing the small deities, Rukmini Dwarkanath, and he mentioned, like, if you want to, these deities will forever become or remain brass and metal. But if you actually truly develop the relationship and trust how you're guided in worshiping them and trust me, they will actually become alive to you. And one day they will even talk to you. And in other circumstances, actually, Indradyumna Swami recently, as I heard from him, said how Prabhupada, there was so many different processes of attaining divinity in the past, but he would literally just come to his disciples and say, here is Krishna, and point to the deity and say, take him, like he is actually accessible to you and you can connect with him. And we also have a way of connecting through chanting and hearing, through coming together, and that is such an important reminder. And I hear a lot of softness in your heart, Prabhu, and I feel like my heart softens in return, actually. So that's also a perfection of connecting under the shelter of our spiritual master. And I'm grateful for that extremely. With that, I feel an inner sense of conclusion, but I do wonder if there's any more questions or comments that wants to be said in this space before we part ways for the day.
We're not parting ways, Ananda Manjari. No way, please.
Okay.
Don't abandon us.
Please.
Yeah, wonderful class, Ananda Manjari. I was reminded of the house that Srila Prabhupada built for us, like Krishna built Dwarka. Srila Prabhupada built a society where all feel welcome and cared for. We were brought to this house basically unconscious, knocked out by Maya, and then the devotees gradually brought us to our senses by the warmth and softness of their hearts.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
I was welcomed by one transcendental bard. His name is Adipusha Prabhu. I was immediately charmed, and I felt welcome in Srila Prabhupada's house.
Yes, that's the glories of Adipusha Prabhu, bringing many people to Krishna consciousness, actually.
Yeah.
I want to also personally thank all the people that I am just becoming familiar with, which is Lydia and Karen and Gautam Ghosh Prabhu. I haven't had the chance to interact with you so much, and I'm so glad that you are here and you are staying till the end. I really, truly am so glad that you are here with us.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Ananda Manjari, Devi Dasi, Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Morning class Sangha Ki Jai. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and come again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.